Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, I want to talk more about this weekend's upcoming Romania Muscle Fest Pro. You've got quite the impressive lineup here, including Samson, Dauda, Nathan Diasha. You've got Horse MD, Marcelo DeAngelis, and you've got Beiruz Tabani. So you've got 3 guys in this lineup. Actually 4 if you include Andre Presti, that were Olympia qualified. 2 of them unable to compete at the Olympia. One of them, a top 3 Olympian, Samson Dauda. Now, this update from Samson Dauda was 3 days out from the Romania Muscle Fest, and that's why it's interesting. Samson obviously is the front runner in this lineup. Very successful Olympia showing for him. Now, I don't think it's the best we've ever seen him. I think he was slightly better at the Arnold in terms of conditioning, but he was bigger here at the Olympia. There's no doubt about that. So hopefully we see a little bit tighter conditioning from Samson here, but either way, if he looked exactly the same as he looked at the Olympia, I think he'd probably still be the clear front-runner favorite to win this show. But it's kind of interesting because we get like a really miniature version of the Olympia at this Romania show because we get to see the guys that we didn't get to see at the Olympia. Nathan was unable to travel due to his legal issues, his visa issues. Beiruz Tabani was unable to travel due to his visa issues. And we get to see 2 really good bodybuilders compete against, like I said, Andrea Presti's here too, but a top 3 Olympian. See how they would have fared against somebody like that at the Olympia. Maybe one of these guys could pull off a major upset. Nathan in particular, it's not entirely impossible. So when you've got a guy as competitive as Nathan in this lineup, even though Samson is the clear front runner, I don't think it's going to be an easy win for Samson. Nathan is the real deal. And honestly, who knows where Beiruz Tabani would have placed in this Olympia lineup. He could have very well been a top 10 guy. So we get a nice little treat with this show to see what we didn't get to see at the Olympia. So I'm excited for this, and it's interesting because, you know, typically after the Olympia it's kind of downtime. Things are really slowing down as far as the competitive season until the Arnold Classic. But now, you know, you look at this update from Samson. He looks incredible. He looks tight. He looks conditioned, and we're really going to get a nice competition here. And then, like we talked about, just a week later in Prague, we get another one. And who knows, if Samson just totally dominates here, maybe he does go on to Prague. That's the life of a true competitive pro bodybuilder, picking up those first place paychecks as many times as they can in a season. And Nathan will be there too, but Samson looks incredible here. I'm excited to see him compete again. And I have a feeling he's going to look tighter than the Olympia. I think we might get to see a little bit different version of Samson, and hopefully a really dominant version of Samson here. But let me know what you guys think about this update. How do you think Samson's going to do in Romania? I'm excited to see it. Now, next up in the news, we got a couple updates from Horse MD. We've been waiting for his open bodybuilding debut. He originally turned pro in bodybuilding, but he had said he wanted to pursue classic physique as a pro. He was really struggling with making weight. He was really struggling with his size and decided that his physique was better suited for open bodybuilding, even though when he turned pro, the main thing about his physique was this guy's really streamlined. He's very aesthetic. He's got really nice lines, really small waist. And that's why people wanted to see him in Classic, even though he was as big as he was and really pushing the limits of that Classic physique weight limit. And I think he really did pick a pretty tough pro debut here because, like I said, when you've got all these Olympians in here, Andrea Presti, Samson Dauda, Nathan Diasha, Beiruz Tabani, it's a pretty tough lineup for us to say he could possibly be even top 3, let alone win his pro debut. I think he's got a chance at making the first call out here, but honestly, this lineup looks really, really tough. And it's a tough one to make a pro debut in because I really think that Horse MD still has some work to do, especially in the back poses. And I think as a result of him pursuing open, he was pursuing size. And I think he did sacrifice a little bit of his aesthetic look, especially in the waist, in the pursuit of that size. So I think this is going to be a difficult pro debut for him, but he's a big Brazilian bodybuilding sensation. Brazil has been doing really well with a lot of their athletes lately, and he's being coached by Milos Sarcev, and Milos has had a lot of success lately. So he's got a lot of things going for him in terms of hype and momentum. He's got a great physique. He's got a great coach. He's got a big fan base. But I think this is going to be a really difficult pro debut for him, and I know that he wants to qualify for the Open Olympia for 2024. I don't know if he's going to get that done here. I would like to see him do that. I'm a big fan of his physique, but this is a really tough lineup for him. And I know I've seen chatter from some of the Brazilian fans saying he's going to win this show. I don't want to burst their bubble, but I feel like it's a pretty big stretch. Now, next up in the news, I want to talk about Nick Walker for a minute here. Obviously, Nick Walker has been a huge topic of conversation during the Olympia, following the Olympia, prior to the Olympia. The build-up, a lot of people thought Nick Walker was going to win. Then obviously, he had to pull out at the last minute because of a hamstring injury. Nick Walker recently revealed that his hamstring was only a partial tear and a grade 1 strain, so a little tear in his calf. And he says that the injury is not that severe, and that he will not need surgery. So the recovery process, because he won't need surgery, will be quicker, and it won't be as long or invasive of a recovery. So I still think there's a chance that we could see Nick Walker on stage very, very soon, probably as soon as the Arnold Classic. I think that's going to be the show that he goes for, whether it's the UK one or the Arnold US. Like I said before, this is a big opportunity. These two Arnold Classics, I think we might see a lot more guys compete from the Olympia, top guys, than we're used to seeing at the Arnold, because having that UK show and the US show back to back like that, and now they've got 150,000 for first place at the UK and 300 for first at the US. With them being that close, you only have to stay in shape for like an extra week or so. And in that short period of time, if they did both shows, they would win more prize money than if they were to win the Olympia. Whoever wins, if someone were to win both, you could have two different winners, but if someone would win both, $450,000 is more than the Olympia pays. That would be huge, and that would get Nick back on track. I'm not saying that he doesn't have his finances in order, but I'm sure it was a huge financial setback prepping for this Olympia, not being able to compete, not being able to win that prize money, not being able to, I'm sure his sponsors probably had like an Olympia bonus built into his contract. And let's be real, an Olympia prep is not cheap. There's the food, there's the gear, there's the coaching. I'd say in modern bodybuilding, a top guy prepping for the Olympia is probably spending at least 6 figures on that prep between food, gear, supplementation, travel, coaching. Not to mention the time, the suffering, the dieting, the training for months focusing on that show. That could be a huge setback for him, and he could redeem that pretty quickly in just 4 months. If he did both Arnolds and won both, that would be a huge momentum swing for him. And I have a feeling that Samson is probably going to do the Arnold Classic UK at least, maybe the Ohio one again, and defend his title. So if Nick did that, we would probably get to see that Nick and Samson rematch sooner than we thought. Because I have a strong feeling that Samson is competing still to stay active and to keep it tight going into the Arnold. I really do have a feeling that's what we're going to see. And I think if Nick is recovered and healthy and able to, I think we'll see him at those shows. And I feel like that's got to be in the back of his mind as he's in the process of recovery. I feel like that's what he's shooting for, because, again, Nick does have to re-qualify for the Olympia. There's been a lot of conversation. Does he deserve a special invite? Will he get one? I personally think he does deserve a special invitation, because it is for these exceptional circumstances that are beyond an athlete's control. And I think realistically, this injury was beyond his control. And I think realistically, had he been able to compete, he would have been top 3, and he would have been qualified for next year. Because keep in mind, we're not talking about a guy with Nick Walker that would have been 10th or was battling for a top 10 spot. We know that Nick Walker is one of the 3 best bodybuilders on the planet. And keep in mind, when they offered a special invitation, so just to give an example of precedent, when they offered a special invitation to Big Ramy, he had missed the 2019 Olympia because of travel issues. They gave him a special invite to 2020, and he won that show. But the previous Olympia that Ramy competed in 2018, so from 2018 to 2020, his last Olympia placing was 6th. Nick's last Olympia placing was 3rd. So, I mean, if you look at the precedent and the reason why they invited Ramy, it was a circumstance outside of his control, and his last Olympia placing was 3 placings worse than Nick's. So on paper, his chances of winning were less, and now a lot of people are saying Nick had a chance to win this year, which I agree, he did have a chance. And I've seen people say Nick doesn't deserve a special invitation, and I disagree with that. I think, look, the special invitation exists. They've offered it to a lot of different people over the years. So whether or not you agree with who they offer it to or agree with it existing, it does exist. And, you know, they've used it on legends. Like, they used it for Kevin Levrone when he came back, and he was last place. So whether you agree or disagree with it, it is there. It is an option. It does exist. And based on the precedent, I think that Nick would be a guy that deserves it. However, I feel like Nick is not that type of dude. I think Nick wants to compete. I think Nick wants to qualify. I think he wants to leave zero doubt when he gets to the Olympia. I don't think he wants anybody saying, well, he got here on a special invitation. I think Nick is the type of guy that wants to compete. He wants to earn it. He wants to build momentum. He wants to win a big show to get to the Olympia. I don't think he's banking on a special invitation. So I think we could see him compete early at a show like the Arnold and get an early qualification, or at least try to. And frankly, that's why Nick is one of my favorite bodybuilders today. I love his physique. I love the muscularity that he brings, but I love his attitude too. He's very confident. Some people say he's cocky, but I love the confidence that he has. And I love his determination, his competitive spirit. I love the fact that he did the Arnold last year when he didn't have to. And that's what I love to see from champions in this sport. And I think Nick has that spirit that he's going to do a show like the Arnold to get to the Olympia. He's not going to wait for a special invitation. I just think that's the kind of competitor that Nick is. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, NeckZilla, 2 weeks out. He's trying to earn his pro card in the IFBB Pro League. Honestly, looking at this update, this front double bicep here, I don't know if his conditioning is tight enough for 2 weeks out. And that has been a big criticism with Rubiel. His name's Rubiel Mosquera, but a lot of people now know him as NeckZilla. It'll be interesting to see because he is doing an amateur show, so he's not competing in a pro show. So conditioning might not be as big of a deal for a guy as crazy muscular as he is. Competing in an amateur show, he might just be that overwhelmingly muscular that if he's in some kind of semblance of conditioning, he could win. But to me, he looks like he's still got some dieting to do for 2 weeks out. And that was the knock on him, even as a pro in the other IFBB Pro League, the IFBB Elite Pro. A lot of people felt like even though he's this crazy mass monster, he's got super muscularity, a lot of people felt like he had an issue when competing as a pro with coming in that really crazy conditioning, or sometimes not coming in conditioned at all. So that's one of the things to really look for with him at this show where he tries to get the pro card. Actually, I think he has 2 shows to do. I think he's got to get qualified for a pro qualifier. I think the show he's doing in 2 weeks is just a regional one, so it's probably even less of a big deal. It's kind of the equivalent of a guy like Michael Krizo showing up at like the local Mr. Milwaukee or something to try to qualify for a national show. So in context, conditioning probably isn't a huge deal for the show that he's doing. But to me, he doesn't look like a guy that's 2 weeks out. Certainly not a pro that's 2 weeks out. But does he need to be? Maybe not. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.